Okay, so we all know the big mystery, right? Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous genius who created Bitcoin and then just disappeared. But we're not here to rehash the theories about who he was. We're here to talk about something else, what it might have cost him. Seriously, let's forget the technical puzzle for a moment and consider a much more human one. What if the pressure of unleashing this world-changing, controversial technology was so immense, so completely crushing, that it ended up destroying the very person behind it? And that's where the story of Len Sassaman comes in. Now, to be clear, we don't know if he was Satoshi. No one does. But his life and its tragic end gives us a powerful lens to imagine the psychological toll of creation. Through his story, we can get a speculative but very real look at the brutal reality Bitcoin's inventor must have faced during the project's most chaotic year. To really understand the weight that was on the creators' shoulders, we first have to wrap our heads around the enigma they built. So, Satoshi Nakamoto isn't a real person. It's a pseudonym. It's a ghost. This person, or maybe even a group of people, wrote the foundational document for Bitcoin, built the first version, and then, after just a couple of years, completely vanished, leaving their creation for the world to figure out. For the first couple of years, Bitcoin was this kind of niche, nerdy experiment. But in 2010 and 2011, everything changed. This was the period where that utopian dream just slammed headfirst into a very, very messy reality. And look, it wasn't just one thing. It was this relentless cascade of disasters. A near-fatal software bug, the rise of a notorious dark web market, a full-blown media and political assault, and then a catastrophic exchange hack. It was an absolute trial by fire. The first crisis was almost biblical. I mean, imagine you create a system where the entire point is a hard limit of 21 million units. That's the magic. And then you watch as a bug suddenly creates 184 times billion of them out of thin air. The entire economic principle of your invention shattered in an instant. The stress must have been just unbelievable as they scrambled to get it fixed. Then came Silk Road. For most of the world, this was their introduction to Bitcoin. And this quote from Gawker, wow, it's devastating. It directly links the Bitcoin vision to an anonymous online drug market. The narrative was being written for Satoshi, and it was not a good one. And just as that media story took hold, the political attacks began. We're talking within days of that Gawker article. A powerful U.S. senator is on the news calling Bitcoin a tool for money laundering and telling federal agencies to crack down on it. The heat was officially on. But the crisis wasn't just about perception anymore. It was about to hit people's wallets hard. Only a few weeks after that political backlash started, Mt. Gox, which was the world's biggest Bitcoin exchange at the time, suffered a massive security breach. The panic was immediate. The price, which had been around $30, crashed to a single cent, a penny. All the confidence in the system just evaporated overnight. The earliest believers were watching their savings disappear in real time. And while the price had collapsed, the true scale of the theft was just staggering. The total number of coins that were eventually lost was valued at nearly $500 million. Your creation was now at the center of one of the biggest digital heists in history. So let's pause. Imagine you are Satoshi, watching all of this unfold. What does this relentless series of disasters feel like for the one person who started it all? The psychological whiplash must have been just brutal. The dream was to empower people, right? To build a new, secure financial tool. But the reality, by the middle of 2011, was that it was fueling dark markets, getting blamed for huge financial losses, and being targeted by the most powerful law enforcement agencies in the world. Just try to imagine the mental toll. You pour your heart and soul into a project, only to see it defined by its worst possible uses. You have to carry the guilt of watching people lose their savings because of it. And on top of all that, there's the paranoia of knowing federal agencies are actively hunting for you, the anonymous creator. And you can't talk to anyone about it. The isolation alone would be crushing. And it was right here, in July 2011, at the absolute peak of this crisis, that Len Sassaman tragically took his own life. It's just heartbreaking to think that if he was involved, he only ever saw the chaos. He never got to see what Bitcoin would eventually become. Because the contrast between then and now is just incredible. The same system that was vilified by lawmakers in 2011 is now being discussed by presidents. What was once a fringe experiment has become a trillion-dollar asset class, held by the very institutions it was supposed to challenge. But, beyond the market price, maybe the real victories are the ones that honor that original cypherpunk dream. The fact that Bitcoin's network has never gone down. The fact that it's provided a genuine lifeline for people in countries with hyperinflation or strict capital controls, a way to preserve their wealth outside of a failing system. And this brings everything back to Len Sassaman, because whether he was Satoshi or not is, in some ways, beside the point. His legacy is certain. He was a true architect of digital privacy. His work on tools for encryption and anonymity helped build the foundation for this entire movement. His ideals are embedded in Bitcoin's DNA, regardless of who actually wrote the code. And that leaves us with a final thought. We obsess over the price of Bitcoin, right? We track its value in dollars, day in and day out. But maybe there's another ledger, one that tracks the immense, invisible, and deeply human price that was paid by its creator.